Hi, my name is Aaron Fontana, and I'm a criminal defense attorney with CAN California Defense Group. Today I'm going to speak to you about the crime of evading a police officer. Under California Vehicle Code 2800.1, it is a crime to evade, flee, or otherwise attempt to elude a pursuing police officer's vehicle. To be convicted of such a crime, however, a prosecutor must meet certain elements. The pursuing vehicle must be a marked vehicle, whether that police vehicle is an automobile, a motorcycle, or even a bicycle. Second, you must have willfully attempted to evade, flee, or otherwise elude the police vehicle. Third, you must do so with a specific intent to willfully evade. It must also be shown that the officer had at least one red light on his police vehicle, which would indicate to you, the alleged defendant in such a case, you were being pursued by a police officer as opposed to someone posing as a police officer otherwise. And finally, the pursuing police officer must be wearing a distinct uniform. He couldn't, for example, be wearing plain clothes and just be carrying a badge. Otherwise, how would the police officer be able to prove that he was a police officer as opposed to someone posing as a police officer? An example of evading police would be a gentleman named Bob who has a current warrant for arrest. He's out driving one day on the highway, and he also has expired tags. A police officer pulls up behind him and sees that he has the expired tags and further finds out that he has a warrant for his arrest for perhaps failing to appear in court at some point earlier. The police officer turns out his sirens, attempts to pull Bob over. Bob decides that he doesn't want to be arrested that day, so he speeds up and tries to get away. That would be one example of it. There are several defenses to evading a police officer. One would be, for example, that the officer or the vehicle was not a marked vehicle. So, for example, you're driving one night and a non-marked police vehicle attempts to pull you over. However, you, not being sure this is a police officer and perhaps thinking it's someone posing as a police officer, decides that you shouldn't pull over because it might be a danger to yourself. In such a case, it may be found that you were not guilty of evading a police officer. Another situation that may be a defense to evading police would be the classic emergency situation. Say, for example, your wife was pregnant and she was about to have a baby, and you were concerned about getting her to the hospital, and being concerned, you were perhaps speeding a little bit more than you should on the way to the hospital. Well, a police officer decides to pull up behind you and tries to pull you over. However, you continue to drive because you're more concerned about the safety of your wife in such a situation. Another example under that heading would be perhaps a child who suffers from food allergies that may be life-threatening. Another defense to evading police would be if you did not intend to evade the police. An example of this would be if you were driving down a dark road with no lights in an area that's considered dangerous. A police officer decides to pull you over in that area. However, you're a little concerned about where you are, and you're not entirely sure at the point that the police officer is, in fact, a police officer. So maybe you drive down the road a little bit to a little safer area and then pull over. Such a situation, this may not end up being proven as a crime of evading police officer. The crime of evading police can be charged as a misdemeanor or a felony. As a misdemeanor under California Vehicle Code 2800.1, punishment for such a crime, because it is a misdemeanor, can be a maximum of a year in jail and up to 30 days impoundment of your car. If, however, you're charged with California Vehicle Code 2800.2, which is felony reckless evading, you could face up to 3 years in prison. If you or someone you love has been charged with evading police, call us at CAN California Defense Group, and we can talk to you about options, defenses, and perhaps getting your charges reduced or even dismissed.